It shall also be recalled that we have variously been reporting to Parliament acts of torture against our supporters that also include the kidnap of some, holding our supporters for so many years in prison without any detention, in safe houses, without trial. We have a number of missing people. We have cases of tortured people who can really bring out and show to the world that these are people who have been tortured. We have people who have been killed, a full list, of people who have been killed. And we want the Parliament to stop keeping quiet about this impunity. Women are being raped. There are so many acts of torture. So we say this is the time for us, the opposition. We think we have had enough. Let's take this matter to Parliament. So, when that matter came up, this is when also Honorable Nyamatama came up with his dramatic story about the actions of Honorable Zake while at Black Eye. We don't condone bad behavior. If indeed Honorable Zake abused the Honorable Nyamatama, well, that can be a matter, first of all, for courts of law. Because, Parliament to do not its limit. Parliament is not a police. Parliament is not a court of law. As well as these are honorable colleagues. But I think Parliament should also have a limit of intervention when something happens. For example, if I am in Mukona and I have an incident with my husband or with any MP or any particular person in that constituency, I should not run back to Parliament. I should go and seek for redress through other channels like any other Ugandan. So we think that there is abuse of processes. But what happened in the Parliament turned loudly. People calling themselves women parliamentarians, because I say not all of us women parliamentarians we are offended. We don't acquire the fact that our colleague was abused, but we want to investigate the context under which these statements were made. Parliament was not given time to understand this thing. You remember the paper that was presented was in Uganda, and the people who voted basing on it, the majority of them did not even know Uganda. So it was a bit, out of process. That is not how we operate. That is not how Parliament operates. But anyway, the matter was referred to the parliamentary committee.
Okay, Honorable Nambooze, let's stay a little bit with that particular issue of Honorable Nyamatama and Francis Zake. I'm told actually, out of courtesy, when an MP visits a constituency of a colleague, they must inform them and even probably tell them what kind of activities they are going to carry out. I also saw and listened to some extracts from that video. They were not entirely good stuff.
This was a partisan function. You see, Mr. Lukwago, if I'm visiting your parliament, your constituency, as the chairperson of the Government Assurance and Implementation Committee, definitely I should inform you. If I'm visiting your constituency as a guest of honor at a church, maybe I would inform you. But this was a partisan function, a function organized by National Unity Platform members in Rakai. These are the people who are choosing Honorable Nyamatama for having stolen their victory. So there is no way you would expect a partisan function to honor somebody you are competing with. I want to give you an example, Mr. Lukwago. In the case of it was Muyanda. The man was called Muyanda Muterisot. That is the name. Versus Freddy Badda. Muyanda took Badda to court, alleging that Badda abused him while campaigning in Sese. But their lordships, the judges, to the Supreme Court, ruled that courts of law cannot protect the politicians against attacks from fellow politicians, because that is exactly what politicians do. If we were to do that, everything I speak against another, that we run to parliament, or even courts of lawful protection, then we would not do any other business in the house. Every other day we would be having a matter like this one, because the nature of our job means that when we go for our partisan campaign, we will talk ill against members of the group, of the organization we are competing against. And this is a matter for court of law to establish the words as spoken by Hon.Nambooze under the context they were spoken in. Did they amount to defamation?
All right. Now, let's leave that matter to the Rules, Privileges and Discipline Committee, which is investigating the matter.
I still insist that we are overstepping our mandate by entertaining such cases. The Rules and the Privilege Committee can only charge someone for contempt of Parliament. We want the Speaker to rule whether the conduct of Zake Wailatlakai amount to contempt of Parliament, or that they cause the obstruction of the works of Parliament.
Well, one would argue that his words put Parliament in disrepute, creates a situation where Parliament is ridiculed and not given that esteem that it deserves.
How am I supposed to examine somebody who does not contribute in the Parliament? Because when I listened in, Zake was saying that Honorable Matama is not productive in Parliament. And we gone the answer to know if she has been so productive. How many motions have she ever presented?
All right, let's move on.
Most of the people are hearing about Matama for the first time.
All right.
Where has she been when the women of NUP have been raped, defiled, kidnapped, and some killed? Where was she?
All right, let's move on. We'll follow up that issue when the Rules Committee actually comes out with a report. Now,
we want to request our colleague Honorable Katuntu to be the lawyer he's supposed to be. The Rules and Privileges Committee is not a court of law.
All right, now
should be restricted to enforcing the rules of Parliament.
All right. Now, let's go back to the video.
Because you see, before we go back, allow me to say this one thing. The Rules and Privileges Committee does not enforce a penal code. It enforces regulations, rules made for the smooth running of Parliament, especially during these meetings.
All right.
It started with Namuganza. We want now to bring this matter on table and repeat it and say, really, is it proper for somebody who has been offended by my actions outside the Parliament to run to Parliament to seek redress under the rules of Parliament?
All right, Honorable Nambooze, let's now shift a little bit and look at this video that the LOP wanted to play in Parliament because it's one of the reasons why we had this commotion in Parliament today leading to your suspension. What was in this video? Have you had the opportunity to look at it?
What is in the video is evidence of torture and other acts that are against the law, evidence of human rights abuse by our security organs against NUP members.
All right, and why was it important for this video to actually be played to the House?
It was important in one, it contains the evidence of what we are talking about. And two, the Speaker did allow the leader of opposition to make that presentation. It isn't like the leader of opposition just walked in and forced his way to present a video. He went through the right procedures. He approached the Speaker well in time and he told him that to drive my point home, I will be presenting this video in addition to my verbal communication. And the speaker did allow it. In the first place, they told us that the person who was supposed to operate the machines had vanished. Eventually, the speaker returned to conduct a vote for or against the presentation of the video. But that would be very unfair if Parliament was to operate like that. That my right to address the House is subject to a vote, and then that I must garner the majority in order for me to make a presentation in the House. Next time, you might find the Speaker conducting the vote on whether Nambooze should be killed or she should leave. Because to make a presentation in the Parliament is a matter of right. Even if there is no one supporting me, as long as the Speaker, in his wisdom, allowed me to make that presentation, then no one else should be made to take a vote on my right to speak in the Parliament.
All right, Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. Our discussion today is tracking down what transpired in Parliament today. As you might have heard from our news, 5 opposition MPs are on suspension. Those include the Honorable Betty Nambooze, who is online with us today.
Mr. Anderson, is that all this is a drama that has been created to divert Parliament from the matter at hand. The matter at hand is that the opposition has requested the Parliament of Uganda to create space for us to discuss human rights violations against members of the opposition in the country. That is the issue at hand.
Honorable Nambooze Bachireke, this issue of how the government is treating the opposition and the relationship between the government and the opposition seems not to go away, especially when it comes to the issues of human rights. A number of questions have been raised in the House. The matter were taken even to the Uganda Human Rights Commission, and we saw how they responded. You, as a veteran politician, somebody who has been at it for quite some time, how can this issue be addressed beyond the questions that are being asked in Parliament and the discussions we are having outside of that House?
One thing we have is to be ruled by a government which is illegitimate. What happened at the polls comes every day back to haunt Mr. Museveni's government. Mr. Museveni wants to rule this country by power of the gun. He wants to terrorize the opposition so that he can buy the survival of his regime. Any activity lawfully conducted so by the opposition is a threat to the continuance of his government. So what he has decided is to govern through terror. One of the things they do is to terrorize our membership so that people can keep away from the political activities they would have undertaken ordinarily, and rightfully so. The Constitution is very clear. When we have a government, the majority will take the leadership, but the minority will also be listened to. It doesn't mean that when I lose an election, I cease to be a Ugandan. I continue to be a Ugandan, but what is happening right now is that we have abandoned the democratic path of governance, and government is now being maintained through terror. It's ruled by terror. And as long as we continue in that direction, you will always find the government organs, security organs that are supposed to be non-partisan, taking sides and hunting down the opposition. So it all started with elections, lost an election, and he chose to rig himself back into power. Our security organs are partisan. In fact, Mr. Museveni is not in power because of the will of the people. He is in power because of the might of the gun. So that is why he will use it every other day. And with these young people who support the opposition, they want to terrorize them until they will be intimidated out of claiming what would ordinarily be theirs.
Agree with you that let's agree with you that maybe
no shortcut on this. Uganda needs to do no. We shall not have a shortcut. We shall have to fight for our space all the way.
Now, what would you tell people who actually think that probably to deal with all these kind of things, you need to have a wider dialogue where you discuss where the country has come from, where it is, and where it needs to go politically? Is it not time for dialogue?
We have been in for a dialogue, but for us, we want to dialogue with Mr. Museveni over only one thing: how do we manage the transition? We don't want to go for dialogue of how we can, like what Mr. Museveni calls dialogue is having the people to side with him the way DP did. Some of us were in DP. But when DP chose to abandon the fight, the struggle for democracy in this country, some of us, that was our last affair with DP, we decided to leave because the only discussion we are interested in is a discussion for Mr. Museveni to tell us how we will be leading the power. We only want to talk about the transition, and we want to structure the dialogue.
Well, why should that
by
be
an organization, most probably at an international level?
Well, why should that be the demand?
You called here to dialogue with Museveni.
Honorable Nambooze, why should that be the demand when you know that there is a constitutional framework that I can actually tell you how you can remove Mr. Museveni from power?
But the constitution has already been violated. Where we are right now, Mr. Anderson, we don't have a constitution in practice. We have the statute here. It is well written. It can be abused and violated at will. So it is a document that has also suffered its loss. So for us, it's no longer about the Constitution. We know that the Constitution has been violated, and the Constitution calls us upon to fight for it. Under Article 3 of the Constitution, all Ugandans are under obligation to fight using whatever means to restore constitutionalism and the rule of law in this country.
So, as the opposition, how will you handle this issue? Because you have walked out of the House before, and what we saw, the Deputy Speaker then told the members of the NRM that there will be free sitting, and the business of the House went on. They conducted business, and you missed being in the House. So, what else do you plan on doing?
We did not do that in vain. That's why it is now a matter to be discussed. It's not in vain. For us, we shall keep on engaging. You know, we shall lose this struggle. The day we shall choose to say that we are tired, we have engaged with the dictatorship enough, let's give up. That is when we shall lose the struggle. But for us, we shall continue engaging. If it means sitting in the House and pushing for a position, we shall do that. If we choose to walk out to demonstrate our anger and disagreement with what is going on, we shall walk out. If it means serving sentences like the one that has been imposed against me this evening, we shall serve that sentence. But we believe in the people, like we in the UNP in particular, NUP. We believe in the power of the people. We have called upon Ugandans, and we shall not tire from calling upon everybody, including yourself, Anderson, that we are stronger than the gun. And I know time will soon run out for Mr. Museveni. It has happened everywhere. And this is the sad story, that Mama Gaddafi was worse than Museveni. In fact, with Mama Gaddafi, you could not even have the space to walk out all in of parliament. But Mr. Gaddafi, everybody was calling him upon to discuss with the opposition. He refused until it was too late for him.
But in this case, you are the one who is refusing. You are the one who are saying.
We know we are walking in this journey, and for sure, as the day follows the night, one time we shall sit here to celebrate that the people of Uganda have defeated the dictatorship.
All right, Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. My guest this evening is the Honorable Hon.Nambooze Mukono Municipality MP, and she's also the chairperson of the Committee of Government Assurance and Implementation, one of the MPs that have been suspended from the House by the Deputy Speaker of Parliament.
By the way, I don't know even why I was suspended. Up to now, I don't know what I did. Well, such a punishment.
Well, we understand when the Speaker, we are told when the Deputy Speaker put the matter to the vote, whether the video should be played or not, the NRM side was actually winning that vote, saying the video should not be played. And because you realized you were going to be defeated, you started creating commotion in the House. So you were named and suspended.
The Speaker had suspended in the House earlier. And even by the time he walked out, he promised that I'm returning to work on you. You know, I put that in. He said, let me return and I show you what I'm capable of. No vote had been taken. We want the Speaker to be a man of his word. He had made a ruling that the video was to be presented. Why did he still win a vote now? Of course, he knew that the opposition could not win that vote. Mr. Anderson, tell me, is it proper for somebody to subject my right to make a presentation in the House to a vote?
Well, what if the other side was insisting that the matter should be put on the vote? Because I had some of your colleagues from the NRM side saying that they were not sure about the authenticity of the video which was going to be played.
That is a vote of no confidence in that presiding officer. Because by the time we came to the House, the leader of opposition had had a meeting with the Speaker and he had taken that video to him. One thing for sure is the evidence on the video was so pinning that NRM did not want it on the record of Parliament. But let me tell you, even if this evidence does not go unanswered, as long as it remains in the public confidence, one time this evidence will go unanswered of Parliament, and we shall fight until that video is given space to be presented in the House. Because it was the ruling of the Speaker. Let the Hansard bail us out. Let the Hansard be brought out. And you look at the Hansard and you see that the Speaker had already made a ruling on that matter. The video had not been played earlier. It was because they said the staff in the Parliament who was supposed to run the machine had vanished. And in fact, the Speaker did order that an investigation be made against that technical officer with the view of banishing him. So they were just looking for excuses of not allowing us to make this presentation. But we are not giving up.
All right.
Those who are remaining will tomorrow raise this matter once again.
All right.
And I tell you, Mr. Lukwago, we are not proceeding from this point unless when Parliament gives us space to be heard. Our request, our prayers are simple. One, we want government to apologize to our party president for the mistreatment that was meted out against him on the day he returned to Uganda. Two, we want government to acknowledge the atrocities that have been committed against our membership and make a commitment that such acts are going to stop. Three, we want people who have been behind this to be brought to book as at a personal level, as persons, because we believe that this is not what they are supposed to do. As the security people, they are always supposed to obey lawful orders. Whoever gave them orders to go and kidnap members of NUP should be brought to book. We are fed up with impunity. And lastly, we want Parliament to institute a select committee to hear Ugandans out on the issue of abuse of human rights.
All right, Honorable Betty Nambooze, I'm going to bring to you some of the views that are coming in from the listeners, but very quickly on the apology that you're seeking about your party president. The Minister of Internal Affairs, the State Minister of Internal Affairs, General David Muhoozi, did give an explanation about why they decided to actually move in and pick the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi